Sometimes they are, yeah, sometimes they can be, the type can be too small. So,
This is high praise reminiscent of the work of Richard Powers and Don DeVillo.
there you go.
There's some stuff.
Gary Morris. All
That's excellent.
No, I just feel.
So I want to ask you the depressing thing, so let's get them over before dinner. So when are you going to Charlotte?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't go to.
Not until January, so I'll be around all fall, and then, we're not like selling it, it's just like on January first.
Right.
I'm going to commute down for the first semester,
And then see.
and then just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys don't.
I'll be teaching one course, a graduate course in the spring.
Okay.
That's the one to be there.
Okay, so your spring is not gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
You're gonna be there for a
I'll
while.
be there like, 1 or 2 days a week.
And does
And
Bruce have a basement?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be hitting up on what I really want to do is stay there. As far as it's.
It's does he, oh yeah, does he have, is he like a master or whatever they call them on the law?
He's a university professor.
And wait, they give you law accommodation for that? I thought you had some pastoral duties or something. to do
I mean,
that.
he's literally a pastor because he was a Jesuit.
Oh, yes.
In any case, he has a poodle, and it's just him, and there's gotta be a spare.
Fabulous.
So that's like.
Take that. I would give anything.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, me too. Actually, you know what, I would give anything for the gardens behind the pavilion. That would definitely be my, I have like, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get there before Bruce, so I have like multiple books.
A year or two back, I stayed with John Winsor, who's dean of the library, and he said John had a pavilion too. And like John.
Pavilions, like they're
I
candy
know,
down there, my
you would
God.
think That John, sat up on the balcony of this pavilion.
Yes, overlooking the lawn, yeah.
Smoking, not tobacco.
Of course, he was smoking,
Watching, we watched the underground sprawl beneath.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
okay, so did you streak football?
That wasn't my thing. I just like took a lot of acid and played it. Mostly clothing on, I would say. But yes, yeah, no, I'm familiar with
The
the.
tradition.
Mhm. You'll be doing that soon.
Yes,
So,
apparently all new.
It's like. We're like, do that in Maryland. It's not our thing.
It's the Testudo statue.
Oh my gosh. Did they move the Testudo statue because they reconfigured that that little intersection where the
Oh,
no, it's different.
That's the M circle.
Oh, okay, thank you. Cause I was like, I've been on campus all week for the ASIC, the literature and environment thing. And I haven't been there like 2 months now. I was like.
It's all the football line construction.
Yeah, okay. Weird. Thank you. I thought I was losing my mind. Well, thank God you won't be back for that. Like.
I've always. The football line to my retirement.
Well, we're gonna, were you to retire eventually, we will give you a retirement party at Maryland as well as you, so. You have earned well, I just remember you saying you're never gonna have your retirement party at Plato's Diner. And then like you outlived Plato's,
I did.
so. That was,
The weird thing is, when I do actually leave Maryland, I will retire.
oh,
with the
yeah,
capital.
right, because you've been there, like, whatever it is,
It's
25
over
years.
almost 25 years.
Yeah.
And so it's.
You get medical benefits and all that fun stuff. Awesome, good for you.
It's an odd thing to,
Retire.
Yes.
First month.
yeah,
So let me ask you, I mean, not that I'm suggesting you do this, but will Maryland let you take a year unpaid leave?
yeah, so actually,
then-
I actually just did the paper. So I'll be on leave of absence, leave without
Okay.
pay in the spring.
Just in case you could decide that they're like.
In case.
Or that Scramberger doesn't win the gubernatorial race.
Yeah, it's all kinds of
Things.
things.
Or, you know, it comes in Denver.
Well, I hope I'm one of your referees, is all I have to say. That is so, yeah,
I was-
no, because Wisconsin wouldn't let me do anything, so
Really?
I mean, because
It's not, I will.
they wouldn't let me take a year off if someone else is paying my salary.
Right.
They're like a lot of state
Technically-
universities don't. do that.
Technically, so like if you read the letter of the law.
Yeah,
Maryland wouldn't do that.
but in practice they do, which is smart for them because
Yeah.
it's smart for them because they can get good people to come back. Not that I'm suggesting that, but I'm glad that they give you the option.
So, yeah, just. The finger workings on that.
Oh, man. And does Tamika actually respond to your?
It's not Tamika, thank goodness. And,
Oh, because you're dealing with Asian people.
yeah, it's faculty. So,
Yeah. Seven.
Trevor and looking.
Oh, it was Trevor. So.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. My name's Laurie Gilman. I am the owner of East City Bookshop. Again, we're so happy to have you here. And is there anyone who's here for the first time? Great. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for coming. And I hope that we will see you very often. Or I know sometimes maybe you live a little farther away, but anytime you're nearby, please come back and see us. We would love to see you again. And welcome to everybody who has been here before. We're always happy to see you. I just have to take this opportunity to say that we have a very full events calendar here at the bookstore. We have author events pretty much every week. We have 14 store-sponsored book clubs that meet monthly for both kids and adults. So you can find all that information on our website. If you're looking for a group of people to hang out and talk books with, there's probably something for you or for your child if you have a child in your life. We also love to have you sign up for our e-newsletter if you're interested in the events. That way you can keep up with everything that's coming up. And we also just talk about books and what we're reading, what we're excited about. So that is very easy to do on our website. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Most importantly, bathroom is up the stairs, past the registers, down a little hallway. The cash registers are upstairs only. So if you are purchasing a book, we just ask that you go upstairs to purchase. They're all up at the register, and then come back down for the signing line. And we will have, for the event, we'll have discussion. There'll be a chance for audience questions, and then we will have a signing line afterwards. We will just ask you to move your chairs over and let us get a table set up so that we can move forward with that. Okay, let me make sure I covered all the things that come up. Yes, I did. Okay, on to the main event. I read an early copy of Culpability months ago, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And then had the wonderful opportunity to sit next to Bruce at a dinner so I could talk with him about it. So that was great. It's a finely wrought family drama with aspects of a thriller, aspects of a mystery, and at the same time, it's a thoughtful exploration of the family dynamics and AI and the constantly expanding role of technology in our lives, which will be happening from here on out. So lots and lots to think about there. Also something that's very hard to put down because it was a propulsive plot line. Culpability was also chosen by Oprah just a couple of days ago. So yeah, I thought it's always a great thing. And you can watch, be sure to look up the podcast where Oprah and Bruce are chatting about the book. It's a really good conversation, and it must have been just surreal to be sitting there chatting with Oprah. All right, so tonight, Bruce Holsinger teaches in the Department of English at the University of Virginia, where he specializes in medieval literature and modern critical thought. He also teaches writing classes and serves as board chairman for Writer House, a nonprofit in Charlottesville. Culpability is Bruce's fifth novel. Others include The Displacements and The Gifted School, and Emily, our book buyer in the back there, or I will be very happy to talk to you about why you should read those two books as well, in particular. He's also written numerous works of nonfiction in his academic career. He's received a Guggenheim Fellowship and many awards for his books. We're thrilled tonight to have a great friend of the store, Angie Kim, here to talk with Bruce about his book. Angie is the New York Times bestselling author of Happiness Falls, which was a winner of the Virginia Literary Award and a Good Morning America Book Club pick. Her debut novel, Miracle Creek, was an Edgar Award winner, among other things. A Korean immigrant who moved to Baltimore in middle school, Kim attended Stanford University and Harvard Law School, where she was an editor of the Harvard Law Review. Her novels are currently in development for film and TV adaptation. Please welcome Bruce Holsinger and Angie Kim.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. This is so amazing. I'm so excited because I'm such a huge fan of Bruce's novels. Bruce has this uncanny ability to pick up on issues that are very timely and resonant for the whole country. The very first thing that I read after putting down the novel was the Kirkus starred review, which said, Holsinger seems to have created his own subgenre of psychosocial thriller, spinning super smart, propulsive page turners out of zeitgeisty worries. And for me personally, The Gifted School came, and I was reading it when my boys were going through the whole college application process. And The Displacement, which is about climate disaster in the Miami area, came when I was reading it when my son had moved to Miami. So I just feel like it was like completely made for me. And now AI. All right, so here's what we're doing. Before we talk about the book itself and actually like read and discuss things, let's talk about Oprah.
Happy to do
We have to talk about Oprah. Okay, so tell us what you can, everything that you remember about the call.
Okay.
No, just the highlights. Okay, but like meeting her, all of that sort of stuff. Tell
Yeah,
us, how
so
did you find out? When was it?
Well, it all happened when I was actually here in DC. I was on the judging panel for the Penn Faulkner Award, and I was in my hotel room and literally ironing a shirt, getting ready for the banquet where I sat next to you, and the and I had a call set up by my publicist. She said, there's a publicity call. We're going to go through some stuff. My novel was supposed to publish in October. This was 6 or 7 weeks ago. And there was a Zoom set up, and she said, we just need to go over a few things. I said, fine. And then right before it happened, she sent an email saying my Zoom is screwed up. I'm going to call you from my husband's cell. You won't recognize the number. The number may be blocked. And I said, okay, all right, that sounds good. So, it's just about 2:00. I turn off the iron, get ready for the call. The phone rings, and I said, hello. And what happened is a voice said, Bruce. And I said, yeah. And then it hung up, and then the call disconnected. I said, well, that's weird. I'll wait for and then it rang again. I'm giving you too many details.
Everything we want.
And then it rang 10 seconds later. Hello, Bruce. Is this Bruce? And I said, yes. And she said, this is Oprah Winfrey. And I froze for a minute, convinced that AI was, generating this moment for me.
That would be a really good practical joke.
Oh, it would be horrible.
No, it would be good.
I was going to write a whole novel about. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But and so I freeze, and I said, oh, and she said, who did you think it was? And I said, well, I thought it was my publicist calling, and she said, your publicist played you.
And she also showed some of this.
Yes, she showed some of it, and then
on the YouTube
and they
video
cut some where I was. Yes.
Yes.
And then I signed something saying you can
That's
record me
okay.
without
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
knowledge, which is actually illegal in DC, I think. And yeah, and then it just went from there, and she just told me what I hardly remember anything after that. Just my head was spinning. But that happened, and apparently behind the scenes the stuff had been going on with my publisher because they had to move the pub date with
Yeah.
like, and there was like this 48-hour window, and if and you know, and they had to like pull the ripcord
Yeah.
to change the date, get the printer
my
contracted to print,
Oh my
and
God.
print early, and
Yeah, because she
design the cover in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The cover was already designed, but Oprah got to choose the color of the seal. They gave her 5 or 6 different options. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, because I guess, she said on the podcast, the YouTube video, that she said, like, I wanted this to be my summer pick.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that that happened, and
you.
it's great for the book. The book has been getting amazing reviews, so I just wanted to brag a little bit first, and then we'll get into it. So Newsday called it a thinking man's page turner. The Real Simple editor, Kristen Lewis, said that this is the one book she's recommending the whole summer out of all the books that she has read. So I'm so excited to talk about this with you. But before we get started, for those in the audience who may not have, read the sort of jacket copy of what it's about, I wanted to just ask you for your description of what it's about. It starts with a car accident involving a young driver, which I feel like is also very resonant with me personally, because my youngest son just got his driver's license last week.
Yes.
So tell us.
Yeah. So we're in the novel begins, and we're in a minivan with a family of 5, and the person telling the story is the dad, and he's sitting in the passenger seat. They're on their way to a lacrosse tournament. Charlie is at the wheel. It's Charlie's last lacrosse tournament as a club player. He's about to go to UNC on a full ride as big soccer star. And they're in a minivan that's in autonomous driving mode. So it's driving itself while Charlie is at the wheel, the responsible driver. And Noah, who's supposed to be the responsible adult, is typing away on his laptop. He's a lawyer. He has to finish a client memo, get it to them by the end of the day. But he's looking forward to the tournament. In the back, there are his 2 daughters, Alice and Izzy. They're tweens, and they're both on their phones doing various things, which we learn about later. And then the mom and Noah's wife, Lorelai, is also working. She's scribbling some stuff in her notebook, and Lorelai is a world-leading expert on the ethics of artificial intelligence. And so we have this kind of family tableau, and then there's this moment. I won't spoil it for you, whereas there's this awful accident with an oncoming car. And then the novel proceeds to think about culpability, to think about responsibility, morals, and ethics in the age of artificial intelligence, in our digitally saturated age. Who's responsible for the accident and why? What is the nature of autonomy when it comes to ourselves and our lives? And it goes from there. And there's a lot of that's the basic premise.
Yeah. Would you mind reading just a quick little snippet for us, just so we can get into the voice of one of the
Yes, and in fact, you know what I'll do is I'll read you the very beginning. And the reason I'm doing that is because most of the book is in the first person point of view of Noah, and I usually almost always write in third person, so this was unusual for me. Which we could talk about if we wanted, but right before that, there's an epigraph from another book and in another voice, and that epigraph is part of the surprise of the novel's opening and part of the premise. So I'll just read maybe the first page.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. And this, I propose, is the inhuman soul of the algorithm. It may think for us, it may work for us, it may organize our lives for us, but the algorithm will never bleed for us. The algorithm will never suffer for us. The algorithm will never mourn for us. In this refusal lies the essence of its moral being. From Lorelei Shaw, Silicon Souls, on the Culpability of Artificial Minds. I met Lorelei Shaw when she was writing her thesis on what would now be called the ethics of artificial intelligence. She was enrolled at the University of Chicago, pursuing a dual doctorate in engineering and philosophy. She told me on our first date. My academic friends are laughing. Working in the new field of computational morality. With a self-conscious laugh, I asked her what that meant. She lined up our coasters, glasses, toothpicks, and cocktail napkins along the bar and started to explain. She was interested, she said, in how we learn to be good. She wanted to know whether we can train machines to be good in the same way we train ourselves. I watched her lips move as she spoke, mesmerized by the spray of freckles across her delicate features, by the frizzy mess of hair, by the small cleft in her chin. Draining her martini, Lorelei told me the title of her dissertation, Computational Reason and Ethical Realism. Are Humans Moral Machines? Then squirmed on her stool, blinking like an owl, daring me to leave. I ordered another round. That's where we
Yay. So I want to ask how you thought of this story, what the origin story is, because I read a little bit about a family vacation that sort of prompted the setting, which really does become a very meaty essence and sort of character presence in the book. And so I want you to tell us about that, and also if you knew that AI was going to be part of it, because it coming out now, right when AI is becoming such a huge topic, just seems so prescient, you know?
Yeah, well, you know from your wonderful novels, stories can come from anywhere, right? And often mine will come from just a premise, a kind of what if sort of question, or they'll come from a character that I really get fixated on, or a situation, a scenario. This case, it really did begin with the setting, and this was um, it started, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 months into the pandemic, where our sons were home, one in college, one in high school. The college one was back home, and we all just needed to get out of the house for a little while.
5 years ago.
Yeah, this is 5 years ago. And so we just got an Airbnb, a little house with some kayaks on the northern neck of Virginia. I don't know if you've been there. It's just one of the little peninsulas jutting out, big peninsulas jutting out into the Chesapeake Bay. And we got that. It's a pretty modest house in a very ramshackle neighborhood, pretty rustic. And we took our kayaks out the first day, my son Campbell and I, and we were in a little cove with some other very modest houses. We push out of the cove, and right when we get to the point, I see this enormous estate that is like glitzy and tacky, right? And it's someone has taken what was clearly an old horse farm and turned it into this compound with these huge fences, with this tacky lighthouse guard tower. They'd carted in a whole bunch of white sand, and if you know the Northern Neck, it's not white sand beaches, and a helipad. And lo and behold, when we came back in, a helicopter was landing on the helipad, and so I just got
And this actually happens
this
in
actually
the
happened.
novel.
Yeah, this happens in the novel. But as we came back in, I just thought, okay, that is so weird. What an amazing juxtaposition. These modest little rental houses, and then this ridiculous estate. And I just thought, ooh, I really want to set a novel here. But that was 2 novels ago, right? And so that just burned itself in me. And I had this idea, okay, and I even started this novel, 3 women in a speedboat coming in to assassinate the guy who was getting out of the helicopter. Like it started as a thrill. I get so. Yeah, your next novel. Yeah, yeah. It'll be the sequel where they assassinate Daniel Monet.
Love it. Oh my God. And then what about the AI elements? How did that come?
That just kind of
into
accreted
being?
into the thing. Often things will sediment themselves in. And so what I came up with was that I knew, okay, what I want is a family to go to that place to recover from something. And, we were there not to recover from the pandemic, just to escape our, hellhole house. Well, I thought, okay, this would be a good place for people to go to recover, a family to get over something. What could it be? The death of a family member? No, I didn't want it to be that dark or sad, just an accident where a number of them had gotten badly injured. Okay, an accident. Who was driving? Well, the son obviously was driving.
Yeah.
And then, it was just then that we had this car that does these like lane guidance
Oh,
things. And
yeah.
it was before the Chat GPT explosion.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, I started really with the AI thing before that, but I was really interested in autonomous drones, autonomous cars, in a geeky kind of way. I'm not
Yeah.
a tech person, and then so I started sketching that out, and then the Chat GPT thing exploded, and
then you
boom.
decided to.
Yeah,
Okay.
really.
I that actually makes a lot of sense to me, and we will definitely talk about the AI elements of this. But what I loved about it, aside from the AI that was, I thought, so thought-provoking, I'm also a philosopher, so
Oh, yeah.
so I really appreciated all of the AI ethics. But I really thought it went beyond that. I really thought the foundational stuff, the the family dynamics, parenting,
Mhm.
being a father,
Yeah.
the difficulties of letting your child go, letting them make mistakes, the sibling dynamics, and how, they really hate each other from
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I thought you captured those so well, and for me, that was what drew me in.
Mm.
Is that are those the parts that you kind of like wrote first, and then the AI's kind of stuff came later?
It all
Okay.
kind of came together at the
Yeah.
same, I think,
Yeah.
and through revision. And I started writing in multiple points of view, as all my novels have been in many points, probably too many points of view. And somehow I really narrowed in on Noah, but it was through him that we see the dynamics between the siblings. And I grew up in a family, youngest of four, and
Mhm.
there would be little alliances and rivalries and like
Oh, definitely.
yeah, my nephew is here, so I can't say too much.
Uh,
But there would be little spats and fights and so
Right.
on. And
Oh, the family comes from Bethesda.
oh yeah, that's right. They do. Yeah, yeah. And so and I love writing about dark family dramas, as do you,
Yeah.
that's where the energy is and
Yeah.
ways.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, because our own Ron Charles said in the Washington Post that, beyond the sort of, the of the moment AI technology, that kinds of stuff, he said your novel is a 19th century novel in the spirit of William Dean Howells, explicitly concerned with morality, presents a deep ethical questions about fault and responsibility.
Yeah.
And I totally, totally agree. And I feel like the title, Culpability, I mean, even the way that you just described the accident and who could be at fault and all of
Yeah.
that sort of stuff really sort of resonates so much. Was the title always the title?
Yeah, it was. And I thought they were going to change it. My editor wanted to change it. My agent wasn't thrilled with it, but it was all we had for the moment. And but I was like, I really like it. I really like it. And that sentence that you read from Ron Charles, I have an appointment with a tattoo artist tomorrow morning to
Isn't it great?
and
Yeah.
William Dean Howells.
Right.
Yes, the William Dean Howells of his time. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
just
culpability,
love- yeah.
because it's so perfect. And as a medievalist, I love guilt.
Yeah.
I love thinking about guilt. Felix culpa, happy guilt.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the other thing about Culpability as a title is, and again, we're not going to do any spoilers at all. But as Oprah said, I was riveted until the very last shocking sentence. I had to go back and reread the last sentence.
the
I was
other
like, wait,
tattoo.
what was that? And then Liz Egan at New York Times Book Review said it's a family drama with a shocking twist. That was like the headliner. And people love shocking twists. Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't? And I knew that something was coming. I didn't know what exactly was coming. And when it came, I thought it was so clever, not because it was a great twist, which I love, and it was a great twist, but because it made the title just have that perfect resonance so I want everybody to think about the ending and the title when you finish it, like, You know, I
Yeah.
really thought that was so amazing.
Well, and the thing about a title is I was just talking to a writer friend of mine last night at another event in Richmond, and her editor just changed her title on her, and she said, when you are writing a novel, you're writing your title.
Yeah.
Right. And all the way through, I was writing Culpability. This is what I was writing about. And so I was dreading a change in title, and it just became a kind of obsession. And it also served me well through revision. I was like, okay, I want everyone in that car, and every what in that car
Yes.
to be thinking about culpability and
Yeah.
what the uncanniness of a situation like this.
Absolutely. Okay, so with that, let's get to the AI.
Okay.
So with the culpability, so there is a lot of AI in this, but what I loved was that it was so multifaceted. So I love that Lorelai is an AI ethicist. I love that, and she has like a hand in lots of things that are going on with AI.
Which we don't know
development.
about, which Noah doesn't know about,
Yeah.
even her husband.
Yeah, and then there's the AI in the car. And then but there's lots of good AI. Like there's the AI that helps to solve a boat accidents,
Mhm.
like to find victims, which I didn't even realize that
Yeah,
they
heat-seeking
did.
drones that are used in rescue and recovery. There were drones all over the place in the recent Texas flooding,
Yeah.
looking for victims and survivors.
I didn't even
Yep.
know. Okay. So I feel like, and there's also an AI chatbot with Alice.
There's a smart
So
home.
yeah. So I feel like you were actually very generous with AI. Like you weren't like, oh, let's write a book about how horrible AI
Mhm.
is. I felt like it was very nuanced. I felt like all the AIs were actually like really moral, good to the extent that we can, in many ways, or at least we saw that side of it.
Well,
Their means.
their morality is, interacting with human morality on all these different levels,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it's Lorelai's founding question, right? Can we train them to be good? Can we be good the way they're good? Can they be good the way we're good?
Right.
Right. And so all the, if it hadn't been for, well, I don't want to give a big spoiler, but there is a
No,
there is a
not spoiling. No.
there's a dilemma about it at the heart of the book about Lorelai is not just a philosopher, she's also a computational person and is working on a very high level, a high technical level. But meanwhile, her middle child is striking up a relationship with Blair, who is a chatbot, right? And without her parents' knowledge. And we read some of those exchanges between Alice and Blair. I think there's 7 or 8 of them as the novel goes along, and they're a really important subplot. But we're never inside Alice's head. All we see are her chats with the bot.
But there's such an intimate relationship between her and the bot that you really feel like you're almost reading her diary.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of delicious, almost voyeuristic kind of, thing that we're going through. And to me, it's less about the AI's effect on us being bad and more, can humans in using AIs, does that bring out sort of, a side of us that we can't help but and it's almost like the interaction of the two rather than humans alone or the AI alone that is
exactly
bad.
It's and bad and also uncanny. It gives us that kind of freezy feeling. And as I was writing it, I think the first draft only had 3 or 4 of those exchanges. And when I gave it to my agent and she came back with her first read, she said, "We need more bot.
Yes.
Need more bot. We need more bot."
Yes, the bot
Said,
is
"Okay."
so good.
Yeah, more bot.
Can you tell us about the research that you did in the AI? Like you said that you're not like a technologist or
Oh
whatever.
no, and I am not an expert on AI.
Like, also there's a book within a book. So
Yeah, so we read Lorelei's chunks of her book as we go along. Yeah. So
and Silicon Soul, I think, is a really good title. Like I really feel like somebody should write that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Somebody did.
yeah. So
least
yeah.
part of
So
it.
did you? So
Yeah, so
do that?
well, I mean, my research for novels is, since I'm an academic, as when I'm researching a book on the history of parchment or something like that, I'll dig in for years and years. It'll be, every little thing. But research for a novel, it's a different kind of research. I won't say it's more superficial, but it is more obnoxious. Like you go in and you learn just what you need to know to write that scene. Yeah. So I did not become an expert on AI to write this book. I read the work of experts, people like Matthew Kirschenbaum, this guy who teaches at University of Maryland in the front row here, who's really one of the, we just hired him at UVA and stole him away from Maryland. And I was the chair of the search committee, very proudly. And and so things like that, reading people like that,
Yeah.
just listening to podcasts where people are interviewed. But I also met some people who are involved in AI and in the research. I have a colleague in the law school at UVA who works on algorithmic justice and injustice. Talked to her a lot.
Yeah.
And took a Waymo the last when I was in San Francisco.
Oh.
Drove what was it, like, not a Tacoma, one of those huge tank cars that have self-driving features if you're on an interstate.
Oh, so you did
So I
that.
did it. Oh yeah, yeah, and just kind of sat there.
And
taking
how
time.
was it?
It was creepy.
Was it scary?
It's a little scary. Yeah. And just taking Tesla Ubers,
Yeah.
some of those drivers will, check their phones while they're, cruising. And so
Yeah.
it's happening more and more.
Yeah,
And, fleets of trucks now in Texas are going to be automated.
Yeah, I did just a short, like 30-minute drive with a friend of mine who owns an Uber, and he was trying to like get me not to be so scared. And so he was like saying how, see, if I take my eyes off the road for too long, and he would be going like this, then it knows, and it and it yells at you. Yeah, it yelled at you. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. I guess that doesn't seem scary at all.
Yeah, no, that's not scary.
So but I really, did you write those parts, the book within the book, the Silicon Souls? Did you write that together, like by itself?
No.
Or did you
Although
write
I've done
that,
that
like,
before. In my first novel, I wrote a whole book of prophecies about
Yeah.
the deaths of English kings in Middle English, but I was not allowed to keep it in I could only keep snippets of it. But I love that kind of paratextual book within a book kind of stuff. And so, no, I wrote those kind of, I knew I wanted to do, I knew what I was doing, that this was a book that she was going to be writing. And we find out why in the course of the novel.
Which is one
why
of the
she's
great
writing.
pleasures
Yeah,
when we
thank
find
you.
out,
Yeah.
which I love.
And but I just wrote those as snippets. I had 7 or 8 little points that I wanted to make.
Okay.
And I wanted her to make about AI. And I wanted her to have this very kind of dark attitude towards it.
Yeah.
But also a kind of being a believer at the same time. And so how to negotiate that.
Did you show those snippets to like the AI technologists and the ethicists and people that you interview? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure a philosopher friend.
Yeah.
And because she's an analytic philosopher, which is a particular kind of language that the rest of us do not speak.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure it would fly.
That is so cool. I really, really love that. Okay. So what about the chatbot experience? Did you do the research in the
I did
chatbot?
not. One thing I did not do is give myself therapy with a chat bot, which I could have, because there was a lot going on when I was in the thick of this. But I read a lot of transcripts, especially of adolescents who had real issues with things in lawsuits and so on. So I dug up a lot of those transcripts just to see what the kind of idiom was. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So big right now.
Yeah, it's really very, very scary.
It makes me happy my kids are in their 20s.
Yeah, no, definitely. So And as far as, and I know that we have to get going. Yeah, I'm getting little signals. Okay, so I'm gonna just like ask a couple more questions that are burning questions of mine, and then we'll turn it over to you guys. So start thinking of questions that you want to ask. And the online audience, please type in your questions through the Q&A. Okay, so I wanted to know about your writing process in doing this, especially with AI becoming like more and more of an issue, and also like more and more research. I'm sure making things, making it so that you needed to change little things and things like that. How was this any different from the other books that you've written?
Just in terms of process?
Yeah.
No, not really. No, I wouldn't say. I mean, it is just like with writing on climate change, my last novel, keeping up with the latest kind of,
Yeah.
because I like to write novels on the very edge of the present right now,
Yeah.
and so knowing where the technology was. But my writing process is basically just sitting on my couch with my spine bent, with an animal nearby, and just with my laptop. I mean, that's
I love that. And does it get
you sit
easy?
at a desk.
I don't. I sit
Oh.
on the floor in a
Oh.
closet in a
Really?
yeah, I sit in I have a writing closet, and I initially started
No windows?
no windows or anything, and it's a Harry cupboard it's a Harry Potter cupboard closet. So it's not like
Below the
even,
stairs?
yeah, it's below the roof line. So
Okay.
it's like basically I wake up and I just go straight to my closet, and my husband, and then I text my husband that I'm up, and he hopefully brings me coffee.
Okay.
And I initially started writing there because it was the only place that my kids couldn't find me.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So that was the thing. But so my burning question, as somebody who's written 2 novels and is struggling mightily with a third, is does it get easier? This is your 5th novel.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Easy is not how I would characterize
Okay.
my fiction writing career.
Okay.
Deep, like when I'm writing, when I'm in the middle of writing, it's enormously pleasurable.
Yeah.
It's unlike when I'm writing my academic stuff, which is like pulling teeth.
Oh, really?
Writing fiction is like just snorting really good Coke.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And just and talking with it. I just love being in that world.
Wow.
I always do. But in terms of the once it's done part of things,
Yeah.
and it goes out to agents, to agent editors, and so on, it has not been. I mean, parts of it have been euphoric. Right now, I'm having this euphoric
Yes,
moment.
absolutely.
You can Wheel of Fortune. We learn in the Middle Ages,
Yeah.
and I've been dropped by 2 imprints and have so the business of it is kind of dreary and awful.
Yeah.
So as you know, when you have these incredible moments when lightning strikes you, and that really what it is, because it's pure luck when your book gets picked for something like this.
Yeah,
So-
especially the way that Oprah was describing it. She was like, I was just like, I need a summer pick. Where's my summer pick?
Yeah.
And then somebody just happened
something
to give it to
magically
her.
fell in her hands, and I know the story of that, which I can't talk about, but it is just like utter coincidence and
Yeah.
luck.
I
I'm sitting here right
I
now.
love
So,
that. That is
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool. Okay, well, I'm not gonna be selfish, and I'm gonna share with everybody. So if you have any questions? Okay, if not, I can keep on asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was, the question is, I was talking about, we're supposed to repeat the questions for whether how the goodness of humans and machines go together. Yeah. What the goodness of machines in the novel is? Well, we learn early on that that Alice now finally has a friend because she's friendless and her father is very worried about her. So she now has this auspicious friend that she's talking to. He thinks it's this girl that she met in the hospital, but it's, and so we get a sense of like Alice coming out of or maybe being less lonely. So there's a sense of there might be goodness there. The scene that Angie was alluding to, again, no spoilers, but there's a drone, these drones that are involved in a search and rescue operation. And so I guess that's a burning question throughout the novel is, can they be good at all? What is goodness? What is morality? They don't have a moral sense, but can a moral sense be programmed into them? There are, teams of people trying to make machines good and make good decisions. And so the philosophical question of what is good goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, of course. And Lorelei is steeped in that tradition. And so she's trying to work it out. So, I mean, it's a novel. It's not taking a position on it. It's trying to get us to think about it. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that, with respect to Alice and the chatbot,
Yeah.
especially, that's to me was most striking is that the chatbot has been sort of programmed to know, what is legal
Mhm.
and what is considered following the rules. And she knows from their chats what the parents' rules are. So she is encouraging Alice to follow those rules.
Yeah.
And when Alice is like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
She's like, Alice, you should really do what your parents say. You should
Yeah.
really do this because
Yeah, she does have a moral
it's
sense. She does. Blair.
it
Yeah.
is. It's very, anthropomorphized.
Yeah.
In that way.
Anita. Oh, and then Matt. Yeah.
Writing the book, both of your authors, you're often asked, or we're asked, what is our target audience? And as I've listened to you talk about the book, there's many people who would appreciate many age groups, many genders, many places of intelligence that will come and read this book with different takeaways. So how did you land with your whole team? What is your target audience? You didn't expect it to be Oprah, but what did you think is your target audience?
That's a great question. The question is what is my target audience for this book? Everybody. Yeah. Well, no, but I mean how would you say? I mean,
I
book
feel
club
like,
reader. Like
book
I
club
want
readers, definitely book club readers. I feel
Yeah.
like this is definitely a book club, but also I feel like because of Noah, the protagonist being a man, I do think that that lends itself
Yeah.
to sort of, more male readers out there.
Yeah.
My last novel has lots of nonfiction-y elements. So I've been contacted by lots of men who are in male like men dad book clubs. And they're like, we actually like your novel. Bizarrely,
Believe it or not.
that kind of thing. And so I
Yeah,
feel like
that's a great point.
yeah.
Like and
but also teens and college students and
yeah.
young people, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, it's something for everyone. Yeah.
Definitely.
Can I ask you about the title?
Question about the title.
Culpability. It means responsibility, but it also has a kind of sense of guilt.
Yes.
For us. Oh, and there's a difference, as you know, between a shame and a guilt culture.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, like today, are we living in a shame culture or a guilt culture? And how does culpability fit
Yeah.
in that?
The question is how does culpability fit into the question of whether we're living in a shame culture or a guilt culture, right? We're certainly living in a shame culture, right? Social media, Twitter storms. We've seen this in our subfield of academia. But so we're certainly in an age of shame. Are we in an age of guilt? It feels like guilt is gone. It's like nobody's guilty anymore. There's no more accountability. I mean, the most stale, hackneyed phrase is we're going to hold them accountable, right? There's no more of that.
So as a
Some ways.
litigator, I would say so blame is definitely
Yeah.
a culture of blame, which I think also plays into culpability, especially given the role of lawyers and because there are lawyers involved, of course, when there's an accident and, insurance companies and, all that kind of stuff. and prosecution. And
Yes.
so I think there's definitely questions of blame and how do we and questions of evidence of proving blame also.
Yes,
Whi-
exactly.
and which is also where the AI comes in.
Yeah. I'm overstating it. So we're obviously it's both, I guess. Yeah. Matt.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out, Bruce. I may get that tattooed on my chest. I was actually fascinated to hear you say that the setting of the book came first before the premise or anything else, because yeah, the setting is such an integral part of it. And I mean, this isn't giving anything away, but the house, the inlet, really becomes like this crucible or petri dish. Like even the temperature in the house becomes significant. And it reminded me of the way that we talk about AI models, like sandboxes and even hot boxes. Right in the tech. Were you, I mean, so as the AI stuff got layered on top, were you thinking about that kind of resonance, or
What a great question. Yeah.
Making
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is about the relationship between the house, the setting and the kind of claustrophobic setting and AI as a sort of hot box or black box or another analogy. No, I was not thinking, but please write an essay on that. It would be great. If you could.
It could be like one of these things, these writerly things that you weren't consciously thinking of it, but subconsciously it like, because I feel like that happens a lot. That like somebody will point out these things and then you go, oh yeah, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that? And then you're like, yeah, maybe I was thinking of that. I just didn't know I was thinking,
And I will say that Lorelei is one related theme that I was thinking about was in some ways Lorelei is, well, Noah says it at one point. She is a kind of black box, and that metaphor that people use when they talk about AI, machine learning systems, where you don't really know how they do what they do. Their inputs, their outputs, but there's some stuff in there that is you just can't really explain. Even some of the most brilliant people can't really understand how it all works. And so that is Noah looking at Lorelei, this brilliant woman who he really doesn't understand a lot of what she does, how she thinks, how her mind works. So she, if anything, she's kind of the AI in the family.
Yeah. So interesting. Yes.
I have almost a similar question, but admittedly, I hadn't read the book yet, but I'm very drawn to the setting as well. I think it being on the Chesapeake, it's, very kind of rustic maritime culture. And I wouldn't think, immediately to tie that to AI or, what's at the bleeding edge of, current technology.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how that connection formed, maybe. Like, was it just you had this idea for a setting and then you thought of, what's a very powerful current theme that you want to incorporate into the book? Or was there more of an interplay there?
Yeah, definitely more of an interplay. The question is about how the setting related to the story told about AI, that juxtaposition of a rustic setting and high tech. And in some ways, I feel like an AI as I write, because I write a lot more than I publish. And I don't agonize over, I should agonize more over my prose maybe, but I just kind of, I'm like a GPT. I just spit it out in many ways. And then I go back and think about whether it's working. And so often the juxtapositions as I write will just kind of come from so many different directions. So I can't even remember. I'm like the black box. I can't even remember what the process was.
Yes.
I kind of connected with something you mentioned earlier about how you find fiction writing to be very pleasurable, and then sometimes when you go back to your academic writing, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
I'm also an academic. I'm at a doctoral program at UMD, but I do like to write fiction on the side, and I have the similar situation.
Yeah.
Like a pain in the ass.
Yeah. The question's about academic versus fiction writing. Go ahead.
So, like, what lessons take academic writing maybe lends to your fiction writing and vice versa? And kind of how also do you maybe like switch your brain to go back and forth between these two drastically different forms of
Yeah. I thought about that a lot over the years. The short answer is the I think my academic writing made my fiction writing suffer for a long time because I was trying, it's just like packing too much, especially my first two novels were medieval historical novels. Just thank you, Kelly. That's very nice of you. But I was just, I felt like I was packing maybe too much detail in, too much, 3 pages on a tapestry. And so there was that. There was a kind of concern for detail, for getting it right. And I think that, the research almost getting in the way. Um, and then after those two novels, I feel like I loosened up and learned to be a storyteller in a way that satisfied at least me and readers, I think, a lot more than my first two did, just judging by my, what happens with books and how many people read them. Then the other way around is I do think my fiction writing has helped my academic writing, and that I feel like I'm more of a storyteller now when I'm writing about academic stuff. My sentences are much better. I never write the kind of awful sentences that I wrote early in my career. I look at that stuff now and I wince. And so I do think it has made me a better writer. I just finished an essay for a volume in celebration of a retiring colleague and one of my mentors. And reading it through, almost got excited as if I were reading some chapters of a novel that I was revising. I thought, I know who the protagonist is. I know who the hero is. And yeah, yeah.
That's so nice. Any other question? Oh, do we have any questions from the online? Okay. And one more? Yes.
You said that you had this idea 5 years ago. So
I had the setting 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What I was writing, The Displacements, was actually three novels, three different ideas that converged and revised and got thrown around into the crucible that became The Displacements. And this was not related to that. I've always had it in my head that I want to write um, super fast thrillers under a pseudonym while I'm doing all this other stuff. And I've tried that and I've failed a few times. And so this was one example of that. So I definitely was working on that before this came to me. So
When did you start writing this one in earnest? Like,
probably 2.5 years ago, something.
you are such a fast writer. I kind of hate you a little bit. Okay. And then,
I've hated you for a long time.
all right, a final question, and then we will get to assign to everybody buying not only Culpability, but his other books, and you signing them for us. But can you tell us anything about what you're working on next?
Yes. So the one I'm working on now is I don't have that worry about talking. I don't know if it'll end up being anything, but it's called The Beta Test, and it's about it's another, dark contemporary family drama about it's more explicitly about fathers and sons and about masculinity and about a sketchy father-son wilderness program and a couple of families in crisis and the about boys and men right now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love that you're willing to share with us.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
thank you. And
Send me your research and yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you,
for-
Angie, for the amazing questions and your presence here.
I'm so
yeah.
excited to do this. And everybody, please support eCity by buying loads and loads of books.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do hope that the idea you just told us about for your next novel comes to fruition, because again, very, very, very timely, and I would love to have a novel about that.
yeah.